So this morning, shortly after I woke up, I was looking at my phone. I woke up a little bit later than I intended to, and I was responding to some work messages, and I saw that somebody that I enjoyed hanging out with 20 years ago, almost 25 years ago now. Wow, 2000. Sent or tagged me in a post on Facebook, and the post was. Listen to Brian. The guy who posted, his name is Bill, and his brother Brian. He said, "Listen to Brian and I hash out some thoughts on current event stage, yada yada yada." He was plugging his podcast, which they have 3 episodes out, and I can appreciate that. But he tagged me, and he tagged like 50 total people in it, and it looks like somebody has left. So I was like, "Oh, I've got to comment on this," and I was like, within minutes of being tagged on this post. I commented and said, "Cool, 2 more white guys started a podcast," which I wish I had thought of that, but it was like, Merlin Man,
yes,
from various podcasts. He was relating a story. He's got a son that he's in his mid to late teens, I think, at this point, and he was talking about his son. Somebody, I can't remember what the exact social situation was, but somebody was asking Merlin what he did. And his son interjected in a kind of, teenage, sassy, snarky way. "Oh, he invented 2 guys talking on a podcast." And so that's the inspiration for my comment. And so so Bill responded and said, "Love you, John. While all I am is a white guy, that's pretty cynical to think that 2 white brothers don't have anything to add, or don't have anything to add to any conversation. Hope you're doing well." And I replied to him, and I said, "I was going for cliche, but cynical works too." But then I told him, I was like, I also, those in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. Well, I'm throwing a stone in my own glass house because I'm also a white guy on a podcast with another white guy.
So we could split hairs there, though, right?
I know, because, but see, that's what, if we want to start splitting hairs, and then I'm gonna pull out my other cliche line of too brown to be white and too white to be brown.
I was just thinking along the lines of, recent attacks. You have to be the DEI candidate, right? Or the DEI host.
You know what? Stop making I wish people would stop making things like DEI a bad word and woke a bad word. I mean, that's kind of how is being a decent person a bad thing, and recognizing just how people want to be recognized?
It's not.
Why?
I mean,
yeah, I know.
I couldn't tell you how many times we've preached it anyway. But like one of the biggest things that I've loved since we last spoke, just paying attention to the way the campaigns are being run, is the willingness to embrace things from the Harris Waltz campaign, like this whole. What's the tampon, whatever nickname? Tampon Tim? Is that what it is?
I think it's Tampon Tim.
Either way, like just leaning into it and saying, you know what, if it means that we have, what kids have been asking for, accessible and available, makes their lives better, then sure, call me whatever you want. I love that.
Me too.
Mood, for what it is.
It's just kind of like you want to take a thing that I did for the betterment of people around me, for the betterment of my community, for the betterment of my constituents, for the betterment of people who didn't even vote for me because they're too young to vote for me. You want to take that and say it's a terrible thing, and no, I like that he, being called Tampon Tim should be a source of pride for him. The fact that it's like, you're going to take this like thing that I did for the betterment of people and try to make it a bad thing? Fuck off.
Which has to be categorized as classic Gen X response too.
Oh, for sure.
Like that's the whole. Sure. I think that's why I'm enjoying it as much as I am. To be fair, because it's the same thing that I've basically been saying anyway. It's like at a certain point we don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I mean, say what you want. We're gonna do what needs to be done, and it's refreshing to see that mentality come across. In a more politically correct manner.
Yeah. I saw, and there's nothing wrong with being politically correct. It's like somebody wants to be, if you're using being politically correct to one up somebody, it's just a colonizer move, like grammar Nazi. But if you're just like being politically correct because you feel like people deserve that kind of respect and dignity, just because they happen to be a human person on this earth that's breathing, that's an amazing way to be. Like I hope that I strive to be more like that. And again, like I remember one of the things. This is silly, but one of the things that was really eye opening for me was watching the movie Blast from the Past with Alicia Silverstone and Oscar winner Brendan Fraser. And there's a line in that movie where, you familiar with I guess I'll give some, for listeners who might not have seen this 1998 gem of a movie. It's not a good movie, but it's fun. Do you remember this movie?
I remember it. I don't think I ever watched it though. Like I do know the movie title and the cast, but I do not remember watching it per se.
I'll just go ahead and say Christopher Walken plays a character in the movie, and if it's got Christopher Walken, something's going to be wacky or he's evil. He's either a wacky dude or an evil dude or a little both. I've never seen him play a straight guy, like a straight man, not sexual orientation straight, but
yeah. I mean, good clarification because while I knew what you meant, I could see where people may not. I'm not so sure I have either.
I can't. I'll say I haven't seen it or I can't think of it. So, not that he hasn't. I don't know that he has or hasn't, but I don't recollect. And I'm going on a side tangent. One of my favorite things was I heard Dave Grohl talk about when they were in the 90s. Foo Fighters were on, maybe early 2000s. They were on Saturday Night Live, and he was hosting, and they were the musical guest. And Walken came to them and said, "Hey, how do you pronounce it?" And they know how he talks. Dave Grohl said in an interview, they were like, "We know how he talks," and so they told him to put the emphasis. I think they told him to put the emphasis on fighters. So when he introduced them, he's like, "The Foo Fighters," It's really good. Anyway, I've gone way down a tangent here. Christopher Walken's character, the beginning of the movie takes place in the 60s. And, at the I would expect, I'm assuming this was the height of the Red Scare and the Cold War. And he's a smart dude. He's a scientist, I think, or an engineer for like an aerospace engineer, something to that effect. And he has, he's come into some money. He's pretty well off, and he builds a bunker underneath his house so that if there was a nuclear attack, they could survive under the bunker for 30 years or something. 35. I think it's 35 years that they have it set. And it's like these are the doors that he has in the bunker. That it's like he recreated his entire house with 35 years of non-perishable food for him and his pregnant wife, who 35 years, by the time the doors open up, my pregnant wife is going to have given birth and my son will be 35 years, because she was like at the end of her pregnancy or close to full term. And so the movie is them thinking, an occurrence happens and they think that they're getting attacked, and they lock themselves in the bunker for 35 years. So Brendan Fraser, he's the unborn, he's Sissy Spacek plays his mom, so he's their unborn son, and he grows up stuck in 1963 with only his parents to teach him about the world. And so the doors finally unlock. It's 1998. He goes out and he's exploring the world, and with the knowledge of he got stuck in 1963. It's like living in 1963 for 35 years. So he goes out and discovers the world. And at some point he's talking to a person, and the person said, I thought manners were... This is all that to say this. The character says, I thought manners were to show people how much better we are than they. And which he replies, Brendan Fraser's character replies, no, manners are so that we respect them. And like when I heard that, I was like, it's a matter of perspective. Yes, people do use manners to show to show how much better than they are, and people use language, people use pretty much everything to show their dominance over people, and we can take all those same things and show people respect by having. We can show people respect by having good manners. We can show people respect by speaking appropriately. We can show respect by being politically correct. That was a lot. That was a lot of preamble for that little adage.
It was, but it was a compelling story, and that's a wrap. No, so I was. It's funny. I was originally going to argue on the premise of what I do anyway, but I'm going to pull it back ever so slightly to this concept of being politically being a way of showing respect, because I think I like that nugget out of the story. I was planning to argue it because to me,
you're always a good counterpoint.
Well, to me, being politically correct was born out of a more negative meaning movement where, people were trying to say things with an underlying meaning that was not what they were saying on the surface of it. And so it has evolved from that into probably in its purest form more the perspective that you conveyed. And I do think that there's a valid argument there. And I do think that there's just an age or change in kind of viewpoint gap between previous generations and current generations where that transition was viewed specifically as, well, you're still saying the same thing you were saying, you're just saying it in a way where the words are more acceptable. And it's difficult to let go of that viewpoint of what politically correct means.
Well, I think you're not wrong. I think when you're just trying to be mindful of somebody who's different from you's position and the differences that they've experienced, the differences that what is different about you, and you're trying to be respectful, that's that's a good thing. But if you are doing it to, I think the term politically correct is a label that has more to do with not what you're saying or doing, but intent behind what you're saying and doing. When your intent is to try to please all the people all the time for your own personal gain in a political arena, I assume that's initially why the term was coined, is because you're just being politically correct because you don't want to say the quiet part out loud because you're going to offend these people and you're just trying to schmooze them. And so in that way, I think when you say, I assume that's what politically correct was initial label, and then it's just gotten to be a more ubiquitous term that has lost it. It's been watered down or devalued, and we just say whenever you're trying to say the right thing to not offend other people, which is a decent thing to do. Outside of motive, I think people are just using the term politically correct because it still has a bit of dog whistle effect to it. But
well, I think it goes back to we referenced it not that long ago, where every 1,000 years language evolves to a point where it couldn't be recognized from same language evolves, and I think this is a really good example to latch on to because we see it in its infancy at this point, where it was introduced into common lexicon, and then we've seen it evolve already in a very short time frame. By the time we reach another 700, 800, 900 years, I was trying, it hadn't been around that long. But by the time we reach that benchmark, it's probably going to have changed to something more along the lines of just decent communication and not a subset of communication the way it is now.
We have a number of different ways set up for you to get in touch with us to provide feedback, ask questions, or just comment in about something we've discussed.
You can hit us up on Twitter or Instagram at untitled_hosts, or shoot an email over to untitled.hosts@gmail.com.
or get in touch directly with Jesse at jthart.com, or get in touch with me, John, via telepathy.
If you would like to support our work or are interested in listening to our new after show feed, head over to patreon.com/theUntitledPodcast and take a look at the options we have set up.
Thank you for listening.
We hope you've enjoyed the show.
And we hope to connect with more of you as we continue this journey.
That's a wrap.